I think the only team that could do that would be the Mariners because they have so much pitching. They could trade away a proven major league starter if they get a proven bat in return.
And our friend Bob Nightengale from USA Today joining us right now. And also make sure you always check out his Sunday Notes column. It is incredible. Bob, great to see you. I know you're in Cooperstown right now. We'll get to that as well. And it was great to see you in person for a hot second out in Arlington. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Great to see you guys. And I think I saw Eric at distance at the Union Party having some shrimp.
I had all the shrimp.
Yeah.
I mean, there was so much sushi there. I was smacking. I didn't have any shrimp. It's a lie. I didn't have any shrimp. I had the tuna. I had the tuna rolls. Scott had the shrimp, but the tuna, not tuna rolls, tuna sashimi. It was so good.
Shrimp, oysters, sushi, ice cream. Great combination. And then, a few drinks. Few cocktails. Anyway, Bob, we got a lot of trade questions to ask you. It is the time of year, so we'll get to all of those. I want to start this way. And if you don't have an answer, that's fine because I'm putting you on the spot here. Are there any trades that you remember not happening that you were pretty close to hearing about? I bring this up because, for example, today, our friend Ken Rosenthal brought up how, Salvador Perez was in some trade talks last year and agreed to waive his no trade. So is there anything, if it's recent, great, but that you can remember where you're like, wow, this could have happened and really changed the baseball world?
Yeah, I got to think about that one. I know, there's close. I know Barry Bonds was going to be traded at one point. Sheffield was involved in something too, but Bonds was supposed to go to the Yankees at one point, and I forgot what messed it up. But that was going to be a big blockbuster.
Oof, that would have been a big one. Okay, so let's start with the Chicago White Sox. William has a question. Crochet most likely to get traded over Robert Jr., and is Robert Jr. most likely to be dealt in the offseason? Just to get your take on the team that we've talked about right since the beginning of the season as a definite seller with a lot of pieces to sell. What's the latest, do you think, on who the White Sox will actually fork up?
They'll trade Crochet. I mean, he's not going to have any higher trade value. He's making almost the minimum salary, $800,000, 2 more years of control. Everybody wants this kid. So we'll see. The question is, how much can he give a contender in the second half? The White Sox plan to limit him severely in innings. If they hung on to him, they're not. So it'll be interesting to see how a contender handles him. I mean, Yankees are big on him, Dodgers, you name it. They're on this guy. Luis Robert, I think they'll trade him. They weren't getting much traction, but they're starting to get a lot more traction recently. They need him to have a good, strong 10 days to move him. I mean, he's got all the potential in the world, but he's got to stay on the field to deliver.
You talk about 2 guys on the same team. Some teams can't even afford one of those guys with prospects. Like, if you talk about both of them getting traded, are you talking about both of them to the same team? Or are you talking about both of them just getting traded to separate places?
I think separate places. The Dodgers have inquired about both those guys. They got a great farm system, not as deep as Baltimore's. But the White Sox, would like to move both of them. So they're willing to put both in the same package, particularly because Robert's value isn't nearly as high. I mean, Robert starts to make $20 million a year next couple of years. White Sox are losing a ton of money. So they would like to deal his contract too. But the Yankees are definitely talking about, both those guys. The Dodgers are saying, not the Yankees, but the Dodgers are.
I know Kratzy brought this up a little bit earlier in the show, but Seattle, man, they're struggling hitting. Do you see them picking up a bat or two as the deadline looms? Because they're in first place right now. I feel like if they get a couple guys that can hit a little more, they're going to be somebody not to mess with in playoff time.
Yeah, they're going to get a bat for sure. They're talking about Luis Robert. They're talking a lot about Jazz Chisholm. A lot of GMs think Chisholm will end up there. But yeah, you're right, Todd. I mean, with that starting rotation, scares the daylights of everybody. Nobody wants to play Seattle in the playoffs. I remember a couple of years ago, the year that the Astros won the World Series, they really, I should say feared, but they worried about the Mariners a lot, about getting past them. And they won that series. They could have lost every game, then kind of coasted to the World Series. I think same thing here. I think Seattle could ruin anybody's postseason just with that rotation.
A team that is talked about, but is clearly on the outside looking in. Are they going to make moves? Is the Blue Jays? Can the Blue Jays? Because to me, I think they could disrupt this whole trade market by saying, all right, we have an extra year of Bassett or Gosman, trading one of those guys along with Kikuchi, along with Romano, along with Danny Jansen.
I mean, Kikuchi, I think, is definitely gone. I'm not sure about the other guys. I mean, they have value, but not like Kikuchi's value. And they do want to still try to win next year, so that's why they're not going to, deal, Guerrero or Bichette. I think they're going to have, household changes here in the off season, but go for this thing, give them one last chance. They spent about $400-500 million in stadium renovations there, brand new spring training complex. Way too much money is invested in this team just to say, you know what, we're going to start rebuilding. I don't think the fan base would tolerate it.
All right, so same division and a fan base that is trying to tolerate the way they've been treating lately, and they're enjoying the run. The Boston Red Sox. Comic asked, what do you think the Red Sox will do? I'll add to this because we talked about this topic yesterday. Craig Breslow wasn't full force with his comment about what they would do at the deadline. It made fans a little bit concerned that they weren't going to give it their best and try to make this team a contender this year.
I think they'll go get their starter for sure. I don't think they're going to surrender. The fan base would go ballistic, and they surrender. Zero chance of Alex Cora coming back if they do that. I think they'll try to get a guy like if he's available, a Jameson Taillon from the Cubs, or certainly Eric Fetty's available from the Chicago White Sox. But I think they're going to get some reinforcements here. They got a tough schedule here coming out of the break. I think 7 games are against the Yankees, Dodgers, and Seattle. But no, I see them doing something and trying to get in. And they're one of the biggest surprises in baseball right now.
Hey, Bob, I feel like there's been a mix of thoughts from insiders on Tarik Skubal. Trey asked how available do you think he really is? What have you been hearing about him? It's one thing for a team to say they're going to listen on a player. There are many teams that will listen on essentially any player and say, thanks for the intel, but no. What do you think is the percentage chance that Tarik Skubal actually gets moved? Because I think that it could be getting a little overhyped if the Tigers are trying to compete next year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think less than 5% chance. I don't know why you would trade this kid. I mean, I was talking to some of the Hall of Famers about him. I mean, just a big left-handed guy, healthy, great kid from Kingman, Arizona, a place you stop and get gas on your way to Vegas. But yeah, I mean, he's a horse. I mean, right now he's a Cy Young favorite. So I guess you go ahead and listen. Remember when Kevin Towers was the GM of the Padres? He told teams, hey, make offers for Tony Gwynn, make offers for Trevor Hoffman. It doesn't hurt to listen. So I think they just have to be completely blown away to deal this guy. I certainly wouldn't.
And then Steven in the chat asking about, hold on, I got one more on the Tigers, Jack Flaherty. So that one seems like a guarantee as long as he is healthy, correct?
Yeah, they'll move him, making $14 million. So hey, with the price tag, it's certainly a seller's market. They'll get a decent return for Flaherty. But yeah, he'll be gone.
You talk about being creative, like saying, "Hey, I'll listen to anybody." Are there any moves out there right now that you're seeing kind of come to fruition where 2 teams will be trading 2 high salary guys instead of the whole quintessential high salary guy that we want to dump this other team wants for prospects, like a Nick Castellanos for for another team's starter, or a starter and adding that in where it's big leaguer to big leaguer and the fits just mean more to the team, like Nick Castellanos to the Mariners.
Yeah, I mean, if the Phillies really need pitching, I could see that. But no, I think the only team that could do that would be the Mariners, because they have so much pitching. They could trade away a proven major league starter if they get a proven bat in return. So that's the only contender I could see doing that. Otherwise, I don't think anybody has enough depth at that position. I mean, the Phillies would do that, I think, to get our starter. But they already have 4 top starters. So,
Right.
but I think the Mariners, they're desperate to do anything to get some offensive help. They get offensive help. They're scary as anybody.
Bob, on the topic of the pitching, Armand asking if the Mets would trade one of their starters like a Quintana, Minaya, Severino for a bullpen arm, asking if you think they have enough depth to make a trade like that. I mean, in most cases, you'd be like, what? I mean, if you're trying to make the playoffs, why would you trade a starter in that world, especially for a reliever? I guess the only case that can be made is I have heard, the Mets have done a lot of work to try and build up their farm system. Do they want to shed away from that in a year where the team is good but not amazing?
Yeah, I think that I think it was just straightly up to David Stearns. He would love to sell. He would love to trade Pete Alonso and the starters you're talking about and really build that farm system up. But they can't. They're too close. The Mets fan base would go ballistic. I don't think Steve Cohen would allow it either. So I could see one of those guys, Quintana or Minaya, being moved and still stay in the hunt. But I think they'd really have to have a bad 10-game stretch here for the Mets just to give up and say, okay, we're going to unload everybody. Even though I think secretly that's what they like. That's what they want, because realistically, yeah, you can get in the playoffs, but are you really going to get past Philadelphia or Atlanta or the Dodgers?
Yeah, I can see it. So I've got one more on the trade conversation. It's more buy sell. So a few names of teams have been thrown out there from our fans. I'll pick 2: the Cubs and the Diamondbacks. What do you think those 2 teams will be interested in doing over the next couple of weeks? And obviously, how much does the next couple of weeks play into that? I'll try and put this in a vacuum. Let's say both of those teams play a drop over 500 over the next 2 weeks. Like what? Let's say there's 12-ish games for them, and they go 7-5.
I think both will stay pat or make slight improvements. The Diamondbacks are going to stay pat. They like to get another reliever, but they're not going to trade anybody. Hey, everybody in the world would love to have Christian Walker. I still think he might be the most underrated player in the game. He's an unbelievable first baseman. Should win his 3rd Gold Glove this year. But I think they think they have a chance to do what they did a year ago, particularly having Gallen just come back. You're going to have Montgomery back, Eduardo Rodriguez, Merrill Kelly. In the Cubs, I think they're sitting the fence. I think this is a big weekend. They play the Diamondbacks this weekend for, I think, 4 games. But I think that will, do the course. If they think they don't have a realistic chance to make the playoffs, then I think you're definitely going to see Tyon be traded.
All right, let's go into your world a little bit here. Not a specific team. How many calls and texts, now that the All-Star game's over and it's now till the trade deadline, do you get per day? And how many of them are you making, and how many of them are people reaching out for information or giving you information during this time?
A lot of times it's me, dozens, me reaching out, and they'll ask for information in return. It's almost a trade-off. Okay, what have you heard? What's our competition doing? And it's really starting to pick up kind of today, because I think after the draft, the GMs wanted a couple of days off. Now they're going, full flurry here for the next 10 days. But a lot of the GMs are saying they've never seen a trade deadline where there's so many teams that are uncertain in what to do. These next 10 days are going to decide a lot of teams' fate, whether, okay, we're going to buy, we're going to sell, or, hey, let's just stay pat. I think what the Diamondbacks did last year by having that run gives everybody hope they can do the same thing themselves.
I got a question off topic here. I was looking at your midseason awards, which is pretty cool. I like how you put that out there. The only one I'm really not excited, I think you could have changed, NL MVP. You have Bryce Harper. Did you forget about Shohei Ohtani at all, or you just think he's had a better year?
I didn't forget about him. I mean, no DH has ever won MVP. And I think before Mookie Betts got hurt, Mookie Betts is MVP of that team. So Mookie Betts comes back in early August and does what he's doing before. I'd probably put Mookie ahead of Shohei. Nothing at Shohei, but just a hitter only. And I think what Bryce Harper means to the Phillies is everything. I don't think they're in first place without him. Are the Dodgers in first place without Ohtani? They may still be. So, no, that's what you're saying. I'm not disregarding Ohtani, but I think Mookie Betts is that MVP of that team.
I agree. I agree before they go on. Like, I picked him to be the MVP this year. If he didn't get hurt, I was looking pretty darn good. I agree with you. I wanted to see what your taste was on that. That's all.
No problem.
But the whole no DHs have ever won it. No DHs have ever done what he's doing. Like I get it, he's not on the other side of the ball, but how many DHs had 20 bags at the break? Like I feel like his value, while it is only hitting or it is only on the offensive side, his value is through the roof with his base running too. So that has to be added in when you think about what he's bringing to that team.
No, true. And, he does have protection. Guys are in base. I'll throw off the argument that, Marcell Ozuna may mean more to Atlanta than Ohtani does at Dodgers. That team has struggled offensively except for Ozuna. I think those guys are dead without him. And his numbers aren't that much different. Take away stolen bases, aren't much different than Ohtani's.
Hey, Bob, let's finish with this. You're in Cooperstown. Set the scene for us. Who have you seen? What are you excited about?
One of the first guys I saw yesterday was Scott Rowland, who got inducted last year. He's having some dinner with the family and some wine. He's never looked more relaxed. He was a nervous wreck last year. Yeah, you run into Jim Leland, Joe Mauer, saw Beltray just about 20 minutes ago. And those guys just seem so nervous. And Leland says petrified with his speech, trying to make it right. So the only problem here has been a lot of plane cancellations and trouble for guys getting in. Some guys can't make it with all the flight problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a cool weather up here. Guys are enjoying themselves. It's a lot cooler than normal.
That's good because it's still outside these days, right? They don't have any big indoor venue.
No, still outside. And I think they had about 20,000 people here last year. They'll probably have close to 30,000. And then, of course, the big one next year is, Ichiro and CeCe Sabathia. I bet they draw over 120,000 next year.
Should they have had this on a different weekend since the All-Star game was later? It's now like an absolute cram show for the Rangers hosting the All-Star game. And then most of that organization, like the people who are doing stuff for the All-Star game, now have to go up to Cooperstown. Should somebody have moved it, or is it just a bad, unlucky scheduling year?
I think unlucky. I think the Hall of Fame should have had it next weekend. I know they don't want to get too close to trade deadline. A lot of executives, hate that. But yeah, the Rangers, like I said, you saw Beltray. He was doing, as you guys knew, everything at the All-Star game. Boards the plane, now doing everything here. He's going to go into probably a 2-month hibernation when this thing is over. He's been running around crazy.
Well, my thing is, why not just have it in August? Are they worried about the heat again? It's not like it makes that much of a difference late July versus August. Get past the trade deadline. I don't know what the whole calendar looks like, but I know for guys like you, you're a little bit busy this time of year.
Yeah, I know they have it in August, and I want to say in about 3 years from now. And I'm not sure how that line up already. But I've never been here for August trade deadline, I don't think. August induction. But yeah, they are having some in August. So I don't know, how they line those things up ahead of time so much. But I do know that people are already renting houses for next year. It was supposed to be Jeter. Jeter had the COVID year, so they never got the money. But I know they are talking to people here in town. They've already built 2 new Japanese restaurants just preparing for next year.
Wow. 2 new restaurants.
Yeah, they want to make the money.
You got to be at an Airbnb or something. Look at that nice wall back. Do you live there? Nice spot you got there. Yellow walls, everything.
And the frame.
Yeah, this guy's house is right behind. You guys have all been in Doubleday Field, right behind center field fence. And so you have the same house. You can walk anywhere. So yeah, nice. It's one of those. It's a guy's place. 6 bedrooms, 1 bathroom.
Wow.
And you're there by yourself. I love it. Good job.
Goes to each room.
Got guys coming in.
Nice. Awesome. Well, Bob, enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, we're excited for this time of year, and we'll catch you again closer to trade deadline season.
All right. My pleasure. Take care, guys. Good talking.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
baseball the way it should be covered.